Hello and welcome to this Car Pod.
I'm Kennan.
I'm Filippo.
And it's time to start with the news. The most important news story of the week is the Grand Tour. Filippo, tell us about this.
It's back.
It's back.
Amazon announced, leaked, whatever today, that there's 3 new hosts of the Grand Tour. We knew that the original trio had stopped for production. They weren't going to continue it, but they're bringing it back with 2 of our favorite YouTubers, Intel Holland and Jake Dingelsman.
That's an indictment of the third, but okay.
I don't know the third. I know Thomas and I know James. They're great. They've been here in the office. I love Throttle House. Their channel. I have no idea who the third person is. Zero.
He does. Doug, you want to tell him who he is?
Well, you've read the stories, right? You know who he is now.
Yeah, thank you.
But you don't know anything about him. Okay, all right.
I'm a follower, to be clear.
They're rebooting Grand Tour. Grand Tour, Amazon show with Clarkson, Hammond, and May from the great Top Gear cast. They're gone. They're retired. They're off doing their own thing. Clarkson's got a farm and a pub. He's done. So they got Grand Tour and they got new people. We got Thomas and James from Throttle House, who apparently Filippo loves.
I do love them. Who doesn't love them? Everybody loves them.
And then also they got this fellow who looks for trains on TikTok. Now, in his name, he goes by Francis Bourgeois. Is that right?
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Yes. That's not his actual name.
His name is something different. Obviously, I know nothing about him either because I don't watch train content on TikTok. I know Ken, and I know that's big for you and Emily to do before bed.
Instagram, but yes, we like trains.
Oh, they cross post? Nice. Good.
They do cross post.
So anyway, this is going to be the reboot of the Grand Tour. Now, I think that everybody I've talked to has been pumped about Thomas and James because Throttle House is absolutely beloved and because they have such wonderful on-screen chemistry. Yeah. These guys are from the GTA, as Filippo calls it, and
indeed the Greater Toronto area for the rest of our viewers.
Yeah, and they're great, and I couldn't be more excited for them. Truly, and I truly mean that. 3 years ago, I would have been jealous of them, but now I'm just excited for them. And you can take that how you want. And then the third guy, we're not so sure. So I'm curious how this works. I think it'll be an interesting thing because first off, there's a lot of excitement around this show, but there's also a lot of pressure on this show.
Yeah, tons.
And if you're into cars, I mean, this is essentially the continuation of Top Gear, which truly got a whole generation of people either into cars or more into cars. And so, there's a lot of pressure on like getting this right and doing a big thing. And it's especially pressureful if you're the train spotter fellow to come into an existing duo.
Yeah, it's tough.
And so Sean, who's our producer, who's somewhere, he's not here, God knows, unless. No.
He's not an elephant.
He thinks they might not do a 3-person show. It might be 2, and then the train spotter guy has his own. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with the format of this.
Sorry, go ahead, Ken.
It will be. I do have to say, it's like the thing with the original trio, the Top Gear trio of Richard and Jeremy and James, was that their chemistry worked great regardless of whether or not they were doing that one gardening show they did, or they were doing Top Gear itself, or then they went and did the Grand Tour. People watch for those things. Now, yep. I'm not saying that this won't be a success. I really like Thomas and James, and I think their chemistry is. Well, they're one of the most compelling duos in the automotive space, full stop, and have been for a long time now. But
yeah, I mean, I think probably the most compelling.
Probably the most compelling, yeah. And so I'm really curious to see how the show evolves. But to your point, anytime you have 3 people on screen, they get compared to Top Gear, including us. We get compared to the news segment quite a bit, and there is a tremendous amount of pressure. And I hope that. I don't know. We'll certainly see. I will absolutely watch it and check it out and definitely give it a chance. But I am curious the approach they take. I'm a little bit worried about how Amazon phrase things, that they're much better because they get social media. And it's like, well, the trio was great because of the chemistry. People would watch them anywhere. Yeah. And so I think that I worry that Amazon has kind of ignored that because they want to keep this going.
That is actually a pretty good point because, it was the chemistry between those guys that was so great. Like you said, you don't want to get people just because they're younger. They appeal to YouTube or TikTok. I hope they've done a lot of screen testing with these guys to prove that they have some of that chemistry. And again, it's especially difficult, I think, for that third person to come into like an existing duo and maybe be so accepted, which is one of the reasons why maybe they're going to change up the format.
Yep.
I have no idea.
And let's be honest, don't forget, like Top Gear did that themselves. Originally, like James was brought in later to replace another guy. So it's not to say like this hasn't happened in the history of that world. But nonetheless, I wish them nothing but success. I'm very excited to have another car show to watch, to be honest with you. So
let me ask you a question. They got 3 people. How come they didn't call us? Why didn't we get this phone call?
As you said, you're not jealous anymore. They know you don't want it enough. Just don't. You want to drive around in your Countach and your Acura GT.
What are you talking about? I'm ready to make good content. Look at this. Look at this.
It's the best content.
But you could also just post pictures of Noodle on Instagram. That's great content. Just do that instead.
Look at the high quality content. I'm filming this from my production studio.
It's a beautiful production studio
with jackets
and an elephant. Stuffed one.
Okay. I'm excited for Thomas James Grand Tour. Do we know when this is starting?
No, they haven't announced that many details, just who the host will be. We also don't know if they're going to change format, right? The Grand Tour could not copy directly Top Gear's format for legal reasons. They changed a bunch of times. Is it just going to be Grand Adventures? Is it going to be car reviews? It could be a lot of different things.
Have
so we'll see.
Have you watched any of the Train Kids content, Filippo?
He did a video. He did a video with Chris Harris and a CLK DTM cabriolet.
That's not a
They went train spotting.
Oh, they went train spotting in the CLK.
What did you think? Did you watch that video, Kennan?
I did.
What'd you think of it?
Insane. I can't believe Chris Harris did that. It was wild. I mean, the choice of a CLK DTM cabriolet, insane. The Chris Harris, it was just it was like a fever dream that it all came together, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things about that video. Anyway, okay, give us our next news story. Oh, yes, the Toyota Celica. Filippo, this must be you.
You know it is. So we've known for a while that Toyota was thinking about creating a new version of the Celica, their famed sporty-ish vehicle. That's how I'm going to define it.
Dude, it was famed.
Sporty-ish. We learned last week that they've shown it to dealers. So that they've kind of shown some early design options, some early prototypes to dealer groups, which is interesting. It means that they're like, this is actually going to happen. They said a long time ago that they wanted to go back to having kind of the 3 core sports cars, the Celica, the E86, which we'll call the Corolla, and the Supra. They have the Supra, they have the Corolla and GR and GR Yaris, and don't forget the GR tuned RAV4 now. And maybe they will have a fourth one.
But they also have the 86.
They do. That's right. I forgot about that car.
So how does the Celica fit into this lineup?
It doesn't.
It's unclear, and they haven't announced that much about it. So they've said that kind of all different powertrain options, electric, gas, hybrid, are still on the table, still kind of early. Although if they're at the point where they're showing dealers, it's probably pretty serious.
I find the whole thing to be a little bit surprising because we were told that the only way they could justify the existence of the 86 was by partnering with Subaru. They both get one. Same deal with the Supra. It only exists because there's a Z4 version of it and they build it in Graz. And so it's interesting that they would even think about the concept of another sports car following up to the 2 they already have, which they already kind of implied they can't financially justify on their own.
Right. And sports cars in general, selling great right now.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, it's not even really a great sports car climate. So that's surprising.
We also don't know exactly what it will be. How sporty are they going? Or do they just want to go for like style and coupe like styling instead of it being truly a sporty car? We don't know. I will say BRZ sales up 44% last month.
BRZ is such a compelling car, which honestly is another reason why I don't understand
why
they would consider.
I happen to know this. He's misleading you. 44%. Take a wild stab at what numerical number. How many units did they actually shift that they're up 44%? Take a wild
612.
612?
384.
Well, what do you expect? I mean,
that is what I'd expect. But I take your point. Like, why? We don't know. But cool, they're doing it.
I guess it is. Hey, Filippo, do you remember the Celica Action Package?
No.
Kennan, pull up the Celica Action Package. Filippo, I'm about to blow your mind. I don't think we've sold one. So you have to type in Celica Action Package. This was on the very last Celica. They gave it this ridiculous
I do remember this.
Yeah. They gave it this ridiculous body kit. It was just absurd. It made it look a lot sportier than the front-wheel drive, naturally aspirated 1.8-liter four-cylinder vehicle that it was.
Hey, it was a good 1.8-liter, yeah?
They had the best ad for this car, though. There was one parked on a street, like in a neighborhood, and an old man with a walker walks by the car, and he sees it. And you remember this ad? And he yells, "Slow down!" at the car, even though it's just parked, because they were implying that it looked so sporty. Great ad.
It's a great ad.
All right, give us our
Incredible.
next news story. Ooh,
sporty.
This was the most interesting news story of the week by far.
Yeah, so Subaru has teased that they may have a high-performance vehicle coming out. Baseline assumption is that it's a WRX STI or something similar because they've had the WRX since 2022. Hasn't had an STI version.
Well, in fact, they told us there wasn't going to be
maybe
an
they
STI
lied.
version.
Well, I have a question about that. We've all been under the impression that there wasn't going to be a new STI. Where did we hear that from? I mean, it's been now. We're now into the fifth model year of the new WRX.
I'm pretty confident they came out and said it when the car was released, and they said this is the WRX. There will be no STI version of it, and that was that. I know that's where we all got that from. So
look at that picture. Does that not look like an STI of a
For the record,
WRX?
it looks like a hatchback.
and it looks like it's either falling. This picture, I can't tell what's happening.
If
you think
they
that looks like a hatchback?
yeah, it does.
It does look a little hatchy.
the trunk
Maybe
continues.
maybe we'll finally get the Lavorg wagon. Dude, if we did, I have to tell you, I am a massive fan of the new WRX. I've said it on the pod before. I've said it everyone who will listen to me, which is not that many people, about how much I love that car. And Filippo likes it too.
I do.
And the wagon, if they brought us even a regular new WRX wagon, non-STI, just a regular new WRX wagon, that would be a very compelling
The
car.
GTI might have to go away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't forget, he's already over the GTI in
I
his
love the
mind.
GTI.
Like, it's already happened.
No.
And then pull up the Lavorg. Pull up the Lavorg.
I'm gonna need some spelling here.
LEVORG.
For
Yep.
Yeah, like Lev Org.
Yep.
Filippo, that's what it is, right? Yeah, there it is, upper left. Okay, that. Isn't that the WRX wagon that they sell overseas?
Yeah, pretty
it
much.
is good looking.
If they brought that here, oh man, I wouldn't buy it, and neither would Filippo, but we'd sell them on cars
I would
and
consider
things.
it. I will
Yes.
say what they said when they teased it is that that's going to be at the Tokyo Auto Show equivalent in October. So we'll see in like 3 or 4 months.
I gotta wait 4 months for this?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll reveal it accidentally first.
Or yeah.
What do you wish it was? Lifted WRX wagon with 500 horse?
That's a cross track.
500 horse? Okay, I got a 500 horse cross track. Where do I get one?
Your local tuning here. I don't know.
Got him.
I think that would do well, legitimately. Like a slightly lifted cross track based sporty one would, I think.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
They
it
should
would work.
do a sporty cross track. Why? Yeah.
It'd work.
Okay, give us
STI.
our next news story.
Cross track STI. Here at this car pod, we're friends on and off camera. One of the best parts of our week, every week, is our group car dinner. It's a tradition we never miss. And this week's sponsor, Cash App, has made the one awkward part of the night, splitting the bill, so much easier. Because let's be honest, splitting the bill used to suck. Everyone pulling out their wallets, trying to do the math while the waiter hovers, arguing over who's going to pay. It was always weirdly stressful. But once we all got on Cash App, everything changed. Now, one of us just picks up the tab, sends out the requests, and boom, everyone pays before we hit the road. No awkward IOUs, no I'll get you next time, just clean, quick, and done. And you can send payments down to the penny. We're always making dumb little challenges like, Kennan, I'll pay you $3.17 if you parallel park in one try. With Cash App, I haven't, but I can literally send exactly $3.17 on the spot. It's instant, it's specific, and honestly, it just makes stuff more fun. They've also got built-in protections. If something looks off, like you're about to send money to the wrong person, the wrong Kennan Rolson, Cash App will give you a heads up. It's like your money's got a personal bodyguard. If, for whatever reason, you don't already have Cash App, go download it now. Sign up, enter our code CARPOD, C-A-R-P-O-D, in your profile, send $5 to a friend, and you'll get $10 just for getting started. For a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, there's no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code CARPOD, C-A-R-P-O-D, in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Have you been watching this?
Yeah, I don't find it to be a news story worthy of discussion.
Well,
Dodge
we're going to
Charger-
discuss it anyways.
Well, did you see the YouTube video? They're like the Dodge Charger EV is accelerating without us accelerating it, and I'm watching the speedometer and it's accelerating like 47.
Yeah, it is
48.
a mile per hour a second. A mile per hour a second is what they said. So, okay, here's what's happening.
That's pretty controllable.
You could do that. Here's what's happening. This is a Dodge Charger EV.
That's what a car does on a hill.
This is a Dodge Charger EV.
A gradual one.
This is a Dodge Charger EV. There have been reports from Edmunds' own long-term testing, as well as now we see it across a bunch of forums and complaints to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Wait, hang on. Forums? What do you mean?
What?
Like forums for who?
For Charger EV enthusiasts.
But nobody owns one of these.
I know. I think it's all speculation.
Look, it's a really small page on the forums.
I'm not saying it's active.
It's not an active thread.
Somebody created it just to report this.
Of the 7 people on the forums, 3 of them have had this problem.
Here's what's happening. Apparently, sometimes what Edmunds experienced is that the car gave a bunch of warnings, like traffic, collision avoidance, inoperative, whatever. And then it started accelerating, despite their foot not being on the gas EV pedal. It was accelerate about a mile every second, which if you think about it, in 30 seconds, you're going up 30 miles per hour. That's notable.
Do the brakes function?
Okay, so the brakes do function. Edmunds said that in their experience, it's a less well than usual. And you're used to, in the EV, there being the regenerative braking when you're off the gas. That obviously was not happening. But
Kennan, in 30 seconds,
30 seconds
I would, if you do nothing.
Right now, I'm not a smart man, but I think in 30 seconds I would notice that I was moving at 30 miles an hour. Now, I'm.
Okay. So what Dodge had, by the way, according to the forum, somebody did not notice in time, went across the street, across the median, and got T-boned. But. What Dodge has responded is that this is actually a built-in feature in all of their models, including gas models, where if the brake, because you're already moving at speed, it's accelerating from speed. If the accelerator pedal stops working, you can control it via the brake, but it will otherwise just continuously accelerate about a mile per hour a second, and that's the designed optimal behavior if your accelerator pedal stops working. By the way, there's no reference to this in any other materials, in any owner's manual, in any support documentation, but this is what they say is true in their gas vehicles as well. It's odd.
I can't believe we're discussing this. This seems like such a non-issue. It's a car that's not selling, doing a behavior that's
it's concerning.
I have a question, though. Is that a 4-door version of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which exists.
Can I drive one of those?
Depends on what you say about Dodge and X.
They sent me a 2-door and I liked it, except I didn't like the fact that it was 3 times as expensive as it should have been. Right. And now I want to drive a 4-door.
All right. We don't need to talk about this for long because I agree that it's controllable. But think about if your mother called you and said, hey, I'm driving my car and it just started accelerating. Think about the fear that would produce in somebody that doesn't care about cars.
My mom told me it was a mile an hour a second. And it's like, all right, Mom, there's a brake pedal. My mom would know to hit it.
But that was also true in the unintended acceleration cases that plagued Toyota.
No, it wasn't.
In that case, the brakes did nothing, and the cars kept accelerating crazy speeds. They could be going
because the brake pedal, the accelerator was pressed down. First of all, no Celica went 150 miles an hour, but it was based on the floor mat.
That's what you say. That's what you say. But Toyota eventually admitted that not all those cars had floor mat issues. That was a whole big thing.
That was a big thing.
And remember, it started in San Diego. There was that sad case. That family died in that Lexus ES that was literally going like 125 miles an hour.
Yep.
And I think that's very different from this because in the Lexus ES situation, it would take like 3 minutes to get to that.
Kennan's response to that would be, well, I'll just put the car in neutral. I'll push it from driving to neutral. I'll put the press on the brake. It is weird if a car accelerates when you're not telling it to.
I don't know.
That's my take.
If the brake is still working, that happens when you're at idle in a regular gas-powered car. They start to go.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen when you're going 30 miles per hour and accelerates to 40 in 10 seconds.
This is a nothing burger. Give us the next story.
The great state of California. So this is an interesting one, and I promise it's not all just focused on us in California. It is a relatively local story, but this happened a couple of weeks ago. But the Senate revoked California's waiver for the EPA to have an exemption to sell. They were going to stop selling gasoline-powered cars in the state of California in 2035. That was one thing that they set out to do in order to encourage people to buy EV cars focused on reducing emissions in the state of California. Well, normally the state of California is kind of operated as its own thing. We have the California Air and Resources Board, which does a lot of good work, admittedly, to help cut down on smog, because of the top 25 most populated cities in the country, 4 of them are in this state. There are a lot of people here. There's a lot of pollution. It was a real problem. But this is the first time that the federal government has been like, no, California, you can't do what you want to do, and we're going to slap this down, which is a really big deal. Now, of course, Governor Newsom has said that they're going to repeal this, and that is they're going to start that process. They're going to continue to fight this. But it is the first time that there has been such an active disagreement between the federal government and kind of rolling back 55 years of California being able to control its own environmental policy regarding automobiles.
So it's all a little bit odd. So during the first Trump administration, the EPA said, no, you cannot have a waiver from our regular rules to apply more stringent emissions requirements at the time, too. This is different in that the U.S. Senate has said, no, California, you do not have the authority. Right. Before, it was a very administrative EPA level decision. This is like an actual... a little bit more serious, a little bit more involved.
Do we agree that it's nice that somebody rational entered this discussion and put a stop to the ridiculous concept that all cars in California would be electric?
I don't look.
You realize 2035 is like tomorrow.
This is the stance you're taking on this. This is fascinating. So I would have expected a states' rights, pro states choosing what rules to enforce.
You want me to get like hardcore Republican on this?
Well, no. I mean, apparently that's different.
I think it's weird that the federal government stepped in, but I think the whole rule was weird in the first place. I'm not opposed to the concept of eventually the cars all going electric, and I think there should be subsidies along the way to help grow our electric car industry so we can remain competitive with other countries. But the concept that its state would just dictate this kind of thing is
I agree.
It's silly to begin with. It was silly on its face.
I think the way to drive that change is to have economic incentives for consumers to make the decision to go with EV. A dictation of, and also, what does that do? It means that people are going to buy gasoline-powered cars in other states and register them in other states is likely what people would probably do.
And there's other issues with it too. I mean, I think that kind of rules like that are also kind of anti-poor, which California is in a lot of ways to begin with, right? Like those cars are all more expensive, and the whole thing was silly. We all knew it was going to get pushed back anyway. It's interesting that it happened to the federal government. I suspect this isn't the end of us hearing about this.
No.
There's a big difference between it getting pushed back, which we all know would happen. It's going to happen in every European country that has set similar rules. It will. This kind of changes that. This is the U.S. Senate saying, actually, no, you as a state don't have the authority to enforce this in any way. Right. It also, for what it's worth, gives California legislators a lot of reasons to not push it back if they were to win in court and say that they can. It creates weird incentives now.
This is an enthusiast car podcast. Can I ask the question on all of our minds?
Sure.
If California is not able to set its own emissions rules based upon this sort of thing with CARB, the Air Resources Board, California's EPA, does that mean that they can no longer ban imported cars from?
There's an argument to be made.
There's an argument.
Bring it on.
It does open the avenue for discussions along that line of things. That is true. I don't know. We'll see. The Leno law certainly seems to be progressing pretty well, and we'll see how that continues to evolve. And so I think that that case could be made for cars made before, was it 1990? Is that their 35 years? Whatever it was.
35, yeah. So the Leno's law cutoff is when it goes into effect in 27, the cutoff would be 92. But this would be unrelated, because remember, you can't bring any imported car into California right now, regardless of age.
Yep.
And unless you go through that shop in Orange County, those fellas.
Right.
Do you guys remember when cars used to be 49 state legal? Like manufacturers would sell vehicles that were not.
People ask me about this all the time. There were like 4 cars ever that were 49 state legal. It's so insane.
There were cars that had trims that were not 50 state legal.
Well, they have 40, they have 50.
There were cars that had trims that were not, where that powertrain was not 50 state legal. It was a thing.
The F40 and F50 were 50 state cars. What company are you talking about? Volkswagen did it a couple times later than they should have, if they were good engineers.
Yeah, well,
they did it into like the 2000s, and then there was a 49 state Camaro at one point, like
that's
late, like 2010s. Yeah. But it basically doesn't happen. And keep in mind, by the way, California's emissions laws. What we're talking about here is the 2035 mandate. Right. California's emissions laws are different and are shared now by almost 20 other U.S. states. Right. So the concept of a 49 state car now would actually be like a 9 state, 37 state car or something.
Yes. And there were other states that were going to mimic California's 2035 cutoff and also dictate that you had to then buy electric cars. Yeah. But I think this puts a stop to all of that depending on how things go from here. We'll certainly see.
I mean, politically, who knows what'll change in the next few years? Trump goes, the Senate changes, this all could be back on the table, and then we got to buy electric cars tomorrow. You never know. They might force Filippo into an electric car.
You know, I have never bought a new car. This doesn't impact me.
All right, guys, real talk. Brunt Workwear is back as a sponsor. And while I've not always been a boots guy, I have to say that these boots blew me away. I got the Marin boots, and the second I put them on, I was like, wait. Am I even wearing boots? How are they this comfortable? Most work boots feel like concrete blocks for the first week, but not these. No break-in needed, just straight up comfort and durability. They're made for more than just walking. Instead of wearing them around for the uncomfortable break-in period, I was walking around my house wearing them like sneakers, just good-looking, real boots with actual comfort. Brunt was founded by a guy named Eric Gerard, and he grew up as a salt-of-the-earth, blue-collar guy and built this brand for real workers. That's why these boots are named after guys he grew up with. It's personal, and it shows. Whether you need waterproof, safety toe, pull on, lace up, Brunt's got you covered. And they've got more than just boots. Heavy-duty workwear that is built to last. Brunt didn't just make a durable work boot. They reinvented comfort for the hardest workers out there. And for a limited time, our listeners get $10 off Brunt by using code CARS at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com and use the code CARS, that's C-A-R-S, and you're all set. After purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show by telling them that you heard about them from us and enjoy your pair of Brunt work boots.
Okay, move on to the last news story, which is the most important. Kennan, you want to hear it?
Yes, tell us.
5 years of Cars and Bits. Folks, we launched this business. It was June 8th of 2020. We launched on my back patio. The Wi-Fi was spotty.
At best.
But we weren't, my wife didn't want us in the house because it was COVID. God, you don't know. Filippo's there. He might infect us. Filippo
he wasn't
was
there.
Not there.
But
Kennan was.
I was there. Yes, we sat socially distanced. It was you, myself, and Blake, are the co-founder of Cars and Bids, all sat socially distanced. And we had been preparing for months because we planned to launch much earlier than that. And then COVID happened. And we had cars that were prepped to go on the site. We'd written all the stuff. I had moved from Ohio during COVID, which is another crazy story. And then we hit the go button. That video went live, and my God, we were overwhelmed.
And it was a crazy thing. That was 5 years ago this week. Absolutely hard to believe that was the situation. And since then, we sold a Toyota Mega Cruiser and a couple of other cars.
We sure have.
Now, how many auctions have we run? 27,000?
Right. We've run over 28,000 as of today.
28,000.
Yeah, we have 865,000 users, actually 866 something.
Wow.
$625 million in cars sold, more or less.
$625 million in cars sold. Wow. Now, when people hear that number, they think I personally made $625 million. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
You're doing well.
I'll tell you what, if he made $625 million, he wouldn't be talking to us right now.
No, I would never. If once I have a rule in my head, and my wife knows it, and everyone, once I cross the 100 million line, I'm never speaking to Filippo again. That's the 100 million Filippo rule.
We're doing everything we can to get to that point quickly.
We will never get to that point. Okay, I want to move on. There's a lot of other things to talk about today, folks. There's like a lot. This is a big week. But the most important thing we got to talk about, Filippo, you're not going to like this line of discussion, although I've already given you a preview of it, is the new Massachusetts license plate. Kennan, can you pull up the new Massachusetts blue license, Massachusetts 250th license plate?
Or 250th?
In real time, learning that Kennan does not know how to spell Massachusetts.
Yeah, you don't really need to know. New Mass 250th license plate. I don't know. Just type some of that stuff in, and I promise Google's pretty good about this. Google knows what it's doing, right? Okay, so click on images there. Yeah, it's this one. All right, so it's blue. Yeah, I don't know. It looks black in that picture, but the rest of the picture is blue. You chose the black one.
No,
oh my God,
it's
the blackest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's blue.
Okay, here's why this is the most important thing we're going to talk about today, Kennan. Massachusetts came out with this license plate announcing 250 years of independence. To be honest, I'm not really sure what the hell it means.
I think what you just said.
Well, but who's been independent? Massachusetts has not been independent for 250 years. I don't know what's going on, okay? But they said two interesting things. Number one, it's blue. It's the only license plate in Massachusetts that hasn't got a white background. And the other important thing, they're only going to offer it for 2 years, this year and then also next year.
Well, that wouldn't be 251.
No, next year will be 250.
I know, but
And
if they went past that.
Right. Okay. Now, I have experience in the license plate world, and I know what happens when these limited run plates come out, which is they become massive status symbols once they're discontinued. The Pennsylvania Dare license plate, the Oregon gold and blue one, there's a lot of these. And once they're gone, it's like super cool if you have one. And I don't have a car right now that I obviously I live part of the year in Massachusetts. I don't have a car right now that I could register this license plate on. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I think I might have to end my I'm off cars pact just so I can get the blue Massachusetts license plate.
It's only fair.
God.
You
Irritating.
And I want to make a point. Here.
God.
I don't want to do this. I don't want a car. God knows I'm off cars. I've said it 100 times.
He says it in our friend group text. He says it every single day before he goes to bed. And then he calls us some obscure car movement. He says, good night, I don't know, some obscure.
I'm off cars. I'm off cars, but I'm not off the Massachusetts blue license plate. Filippo, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, you own multiple vehicles that are registered in the state of Massachusetts.
No, I do not.
You don't own any anymore? Did you move to Countach?
I have one car registered in Massachusetts, but I have a different special plate on that. So it's over. So I got to get something else.
I'll help.
And I don't want to give up that plate. So I got to get, what am I going to do? I have to get another. Do you agree with me, Flip? I don't have a choice.
So
I'm still off cars, people.
I think you need a Fiat 500 Abarth Cabriolet, specifically my Fiat 500 Abarth Cabriolet. I'll sell it to you for a good deal.
I'm
tomorrow. Good deal.
My M5 is currently getting some stuff done at Elite Finish, just some cosmetic stuff, and I'm borrowing Filippo's 500 Abarth. I drove it like a month ago. It's worse. Like the suspension,
it is.
Seems
I agree.
And the door panel is vibrating all of a sudden, which is a new one.
I got to change the window regulator.
Two things, Filippo. Number one, you need to sell that car, and on the site.
To you.
And number two. No. You know what I want? What I think I want is a VIN and a title. I don't really.
You know what you can buy? That Ferrari that was on an auction site. Remember, it was just like a pile of scrap. It was just a VIN, was all it was.
I don't even want that. I just want a VIN and a title. I don't need it to be valuable. I just want a VIN and a title, because they don't make you show them the VIN, the car, when you register it here in Massachusetts. I just want a VIN and a title. Can we? So I can get the blue plate. Can we do that?
Yeah. I'm gonna just look for all the cars we have live that are closest to you. Because
what's the cheapest
proximity
car on the site? That's the car I want.
Ooh, there's a nice V60 Polestar by you.
Kennan,
that's not it.
Kennan, do you agree with me that I need to get this blue license plate?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
and I've said that you always say you're off cars. You're never off cars.
I'm not on cars. I don't want a car.
You like to talk yourself into being, but some circumstance presents itself, and then all of a sudden I get to hear about the gazillion cars you want to buy, and you're relentless in sending us, and I don't think you buy any of them. You're the boy who cries wolf constantly. The Countach is the only. Who cries wolf.
I've been saying on this podcast for a year that I never want to buy another car again as long as I live. You every week are like, I want a Viper, I want an Evora, I want a GT4, I want a Boxster Spider.
I never said GT4.
I don't know what
I object to the GT4. The 308 GT4, no. But
it gets confusing. 308 GT4, that's another one. It gets confusing. What I'm saying is I don't have any interest in a car. I don't want a car.
But you want the plate.
I want the license plate, and I'm forced. The state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth, has forced my hand. Filippo understands.
I understand, and I will help you. I'll ponder what you should buy. I'll find. Yeah. I'm really good at finding the cheapest car for sale places. So, I'm on it.
Doesn't need a run.
Yep.
Just see the title, dude. And then later on, when I get more cars or less cars, I will eventually transfer the plate to another car. I just want to keep it active. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. I'll start looking.
It's a cool license plate. I'll give you that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Filippo, can you tell us about your Mercedes-Benz station wagon?
Yeah. I have a Mercedes-Benz station wagon. I've owned it for 4 years this week.
Wow.
Bought it on June 1st on Cars and Bids on June 1st of 2021. It's been 4 years. 4 years of Mercedes wagon. It's been wonderful. We've done 57,000 miles, something like that. We've driven across the country, driven it up everywhere around the United States, up to the Northeast, a bunch of times with the family.
One of my favorite things about that car is that gradually it has driven from the very tip of the Northeast of the country to the very tip of the Southwest of the country. But it took about 3 years to do that.
I bought that car in Maine.
A little longer than you did.
I bought that car in Maine from a guy named Sam, who's wonderful. I was then back in Maine 2 months later with some friends with that car. Drove it to the West Coast a year later. Been here since.
But initially, though, it was in North Carolina for a year, wasn't it?
It was in North Carolina for a year, and then came out to California with us.
And as I recall, even when you moved to California, you spent like a month in Texas or something.
Yeah,
like,
we spent a lot of time in Texas and in Arizona and in Utah and back and forth, and it's driven across America's highway, but only from between California and Texas, and then between North Carolina and Maine. That's it. And like connected once.
A piecemeal journey across. Anyway, so you like the car still,
We
even
love
though
the
it's
car.
are you thinking about a 213? Is that kind of why you're talking?
I've realized two things. First is now that it has 120,000 miles thereabouts, and it's been in 2 accidents, and
you put $9,000 into service in it.
We spent $6,000 servicing it because it had some rust issues that were impacting the brake lines. But now that is all resolved, this car's worth very little, and I may as well keep it forever.
Yeah, what does forever look like? I mean, I want you to get into a 213.
No, I love this car. Truly, it's such a good car. We drove it to the desert a month ago for a little family camping trip. And it reminded me of just how good it is. That car sits on my street the rest of the time because we drive the GTI and we drive the Fiat around town. Mm-hmm. But it's so good. I drove it here today because Kennan has my Fiat. And it's just so good. Best car I've ever owned.
You know what I fear, Filippo, is that you'll never be able to get into a 213 because I'm never going to get into a 214. And you always buy a car after I've had it. You know? Right. Like you got the E-Wagon, I got the E-Wagon. You got the like older one, I got the newer one. Like you got a GTI, I had a GTI.
You toured a Fiat.
You had a Spectra.
Right.
You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm worried because I don't plan to upgrade to a 214 now that the third row is gone. And so are you stuck in 212 ownership forever?
I hope so. I love it. The car is so good. It's so good. Also, like, it's very well equipped. It has Distronic and all like the safety stuff. And Distronic is still competitive with modern systems from this car being 11 years old at this point. Just so good.
Yeah.
And Designo, you know?
And the Designo interior, a color that the Mercedes-Benz people love in Mocha Espresso or whatever it's called. Something that scroll down, I don't remember what it's called.
I think that's what it's called.
Mocha Black. So good.
I agree.
Safe forever.
I agree, Filippo. A good Mercedes station wagon will change your life. A bad Mercedes station wagon will ruin your career. That's what they say in Germany.
The age-old, time-honored tradition of.
Luckily,
it's actually
I have
a Belgian saying, but
I did realize that I have to give it a little bit of love. It's time to invest in making sure that it works for a long time. It's been mechanically perfect, by the way.
Kennan, can you tell us about the sweatshirt?
Yes, we have a present from a viewer for you. Now, unfortunately, you are not here. But there was a viewer had sent us a sweatshirt for you. It is the Ford Fusion, or it's a T-shirt. Now, this is a real T-shirt that Ford made in when they redesigned the car in 2012, 2013, that Aston Martin looking version of the Fusion. Now,
Sean, it's just, can you pull up this camera? Okay, he's no idea how to turn it.
There we go. It just says, for those of you who can't see, it just says Fusion on the back, a Ford logo. That's it.
Although this shirt has come to us purportedly for the Aston Martin looking Fusion, I would like to think of it as the shirt for the launch of the original European Ford Fusion in the late 90s, which actually was a minivan hatchback thing.
It was a tall hatchback. Ford Fusion Europe.
Pull up the original Ford Fusion, which I think I'm going to tell people that that's where the shirt came from. This is the little-known Ford Fusion.
Let's do this one.
And when I walk around wearing the shirt, Filippo, do you agree with me? I'm going to tell people this was the European tall hatchback Ford Fusion.
100%. Agreed.
But thank you for saying that. And Mike is the person who says that. He wrote you a letter too, which I'll retain for you so you can read it later.
Where's Mike?
Mike doesn't say where Mike is from. But thank you, Mike. It's very kind of you. And I'm sure Doug will wear it with tremendous pride.
I will wear that with pride. Or maybe Filippo will. It looks like he's putting it on right now.
Yeah, there's a tag on it. Oh, don't pull that off, Filippo.
Eau Claire Vintage.
Filippo, don't pull off the tag. It's OE, dude. We're gonna.
But perhaps they're from Wisconsin because they bought it from a place called Eau Claire Vintage.
Okay, we have to move on to the market report. I thank Mike for the Ford Fusion T-shirt, and I truly will wear it with pride and think about the original European Fusion, but not the American ones. Although I think they were good cars. Okay.
Also available with the stick every generation.
What? The last Trinity Fusion was
really?
available with a stick?
Yeah.
No.
Is that so?
It's factually accurate.
Yeah. That really trashy base model version with like 14-inch hubcaps was offered with a stick. Front wheel drive.
Really?
Yep.
I learned. Thank you for that tidbit about a normal car. I will carry that one with pride.
You're so
Not
welcome.
the good ones. Okay. I want to talk 2 market reports, and then we got questions which are amazing. Best questions we've ever had.
Wow.
2 market reports. Filippo, you can either talk NSX or V60 Polestar. You have to choose.
All right, I want to talk about the NSX. Can you pull up the NSX we sold last week? I'm going to break tradition. All right, we sold earlier this week a 9,800 mile NA2 pre-facelift NSX, as these are known. There's only one caveat, and that's that it has an automatic transmission. As far as I can tell, this is the single highest sale of an automatic transmission this generation NSX.
Yeah.
Now,
NSXs are like up. NSXs are still really hot generally. And it shows that that's true of all of them.
Okay, question for you about this. What do you do with this car?
Let me do the math. Let me 3 pedals and 6 speed. You manual swap it.
I don't know. I don't think you do. You don't buy a sub 10,000 mile one to manual swap it.
Yeah.
Now, the owner in the seller in the comments talked a lot about the fact that he can no longer drive a manual due to like an injury. He can't
very fair.
use his left foot for that purpose.
But to your point, you're not going to drive it at all because it doesn't have any miles on it anyway.
Right. He had looked into manual swapping it and like connected people in the comments to, this is the shop that I talked to about it. This is what they said it would take, etc. So clearly there's interest in that. But I don't think you do that with this car. I think you hope that the collector market appreciates it.
I get the argument.
I bet you manual swap.
I bet you manual swap anyway. Like,
it's just a really clean yellow, which is rare. NA2, which is rare.
Mostly.
It's delightful.
Low mileage, clean. Someone's gonna manual swap.
It's a delightful vehicle.
It's no longer original, but they'll do it with the right parts, and it'll be like a really clean car. Which honestly, with the swap, will probably still be worth a little more than an auto.
Agreed.
Yeah. Also, still worth real money.
Yeah, I mean, serious money. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They're wonderful cars.
Someone is paying for the ability to buy a really clean NSX that then they have to do the conversion. Did you notice it's VIN number 8 for the year? You know, NSX VINs restarted every year.
Really?
So this is number 000008. It's also the last year of the NSX prior to the headlight facelift, which I can imagine is probably pretty hard to find. I bet there's not a lot of 01s.
No, not a lot of NA2 pre-facelift.
It looks great in spot
It looks
yellow.
so good. What a cool car. I obviously everybody wishes that it were manual. Had it been a manual, it would have been 60 grand more, 50% more realistically.
So cool. I gotta get an NSX.
Cool.
Get one of those.
Maybe I get an NSX to put my mass blue plate on.
Yeah.
You could.
I do need a Japanese V6. It completes my.
You need a Ferrari. That's what nobody needs a Ferrari, but like it's missing.
No, NSX.
550.
This episode of This Car Pod is brought to you by Acre Gold. Now, you all know that I'm all about finding value, whether it's a pristine 964 911 or an immaculate E46 M3. But let's talk about a different kind of asset, Acre Gold. Inflation's hitting harder than a V12 at Redline. Gas, car parts, even car washes are through the roof. Acre Gold lets you invest in real 24-karat gold bars for just a few bucks a day. It's like buying a classic car that never rusts. No finest degree needed, just pure, shiny gold delivered to you. Go to getacregold.com, protect your money, keep it golden. That's getacregold.com.
Give us these C63 Black Series situation.
Yes, we had another very high result recently. So we sold a Mercedes, it's a W204 generation C63 AMG Black Series. Now, these cars are incredibly desirable to begin with, but this one was interesting because it's red, which is very rare on these cars, but it also had miles for one of these, 38,100 miles. And it had some modifications, if memory serves me. So, like, it had...
But it sold for
$111,000, which is like... There are ones, I was doing a little bit of research on this, with low mileage, kind of boringish colors that sold for more than this, but like with this many miles on it, like one of these relative to how many, most of these don't have this kind of mileage on it, it was a strong result. I think the color had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
And
it did, for sure.
Do you think it's interesting that the C63 Black is worth more than the CLK?
How much does the CLK Black? Like 100-ish?
Yeah, not 111. I mean, a really nice one would be 111, but you can get pretty average CLK blacks for 80s, I think.
I might be wrong on this, but I believe one of the benefits of the C63 Black Series is that it didn't have the head bolt problem that the CLK 63 Black Series has to deal with. Those later engines didn't have the same issue. Because this is the M15.
Because like the CLK is this touring car, fender-looking thing, and they're both really rare. It's almost amazing how few of these Black Series models they made. There's only 800 of these C63 Blacks on the planet. Not for the U.S., on the planet. That's pretty cool. So there's probably only about 250, 300 in the States. That's a very special car.
It is. And we've sold a number of 507 editions, but we've never sold a Black Series before. So this is it's a special car. And I think that I do wonder if the Black Series cars become more appreciated in that they are just insane.
I mean look, a regular C63 AMG with this miles is a $35,000 car.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's already some appreciation here for 60 extra horsepower.
60 horsepower, but also just there's a lot of
I'm diminishing
that went into the Black Series cars.
Yeah.
And like the SL65, I mean, an 09 SL65 non-Black Series is a 35 car, and a Black Series is like a 350 car. So the market definitely likes the Black Series.
Yeah, for good reason.
Sure.
It's so cool. I'm making fun of it a little bit, but 60 horsepower is a lot. That's 15%.
Look at the canards.
And the body kit.
You're discounting the canards, Filippo.
I'm stunned you know what that means.
I'm stunned. You know what that means. In fact, I'm not even sure that you do.
I'm surprised, but I do. Yeah, you don't even know what a write-off is. I think both of you. I'm surprised, but either one of you know what they are.
Filippo did one track day. He's like, canards. Yeah, I got him on. I put him on all my cars.
He's going to start talking about setup and corner balancing and all that.
That's why you need the spoiler.
Okay, one other market report topic we got to cover. An unbelievable car has listed on Cars and Bids. Is it the RWB 911? No, it is this Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Click on this. This is a Rolls-Royce Cullinan that we are listing on Cars and Bids. One owner car, Rolls-Royce Cullinan, not that rare unusual.
Cool on its
except this one has 115,000 miles on the odometer.
That's insane.
That is nuts.
One owner.
One dude.
This is a 2020, so in 5 years, they're driving at 20,000 miles a year, which is high mileage for any car in a Rolls-Royce Cullinan.
In the first 6 months, they drove 18,000 miles. In the subsequent year, year and 3 months, they drove an additional 33,000 miles. This is wild.
That is a comfortable 120,000 miles. The seller of this car, who's a buddy of mine, he's one of our best sellers on the site, David. He told me he got this car and he's like, would you put it on the site? I was like, I would be so thrilled because it is such an insane thing. He's like, where's the value? I was like, I have no idea. And he asked me, he said, do you think it'll hit this number? And I was like, dude, I looked at comps and there isn't another Cullinan listed with even half the mileage of this Cullinan.
And look, you got to say, it looks amazing.
It's held up. It's held up. Isn't that shocking?
I mean, look at the
This is crazy. Rolls-Royce quality, it turns out.
Well, there's no question about this. The mechanical components that are questionable. But I think this car, it did it. Look at that. It's pretty incredible.
If you told me this was a 20,000 mile car, I'd believe you.
I believe it.
I mean, I don't know what it's like mechanically. I don't know the service record. I don't know all that stuff. But like, just from going through the pictures, it's absolutely shocking. It makes you think that maybe Rolls-Royce really was serious about making this more of a daily drivable type of car.
Yeah.
And B, like maybe wear is more about time and mileage than just mileage alone. Obviously, there's a lot of these must have been highway miles without really wearing the car, but still, pretty crazy.
The V12 is ticking over pretty low in the RPM range.
I really wish that there was more history on the Carfax. There's some service history that the seller knows, but like I wish there was way more on the Carfax because I want to know where ping pong to and from.
What Rolls-Royce dealers it had to go to?
Probably the Rolls-Royce dealer in Philly, right, Kerbeck?
You would imagine.
I mean, I could imagine somebody commuting to New York City. That's 200 miles round trip a day. You get there.
I have to say, it's also not the first time I've seen something like this. I remember the exotic car dealership I worked at. They were 2 years old, and someone came in with a Bentayga that they had put about 105,000 miles on. And same thing.
Bentayga, though, is more of a daily driver car.
Definitely.
Like, it's way cheaper to buy new than a Cullinan. Like, to me, when he told me about this, David, who's selling it, I was astonished that such a vehicle even existed. Think about just the fuel bills are significant, not to mention depreciation, which is also significant.
Right.
It's a pretty serious thing to do this.
In my view, that's real wealth. That is someone who just drove it, used it, and doesn't care. and doesn't have
If
to.
you were
That's
really
real.
rich, wouldn't you do that? Drive around in the comfiest daily driver
I will
thing you
also-
can?
Depreciation per mile is less than it would be if they hadn't driven it.
Well, yeah, but the total amount
total
of depreciation, which is kind of the thing that really matters the most.
Well, but you drove it. I mean, the MSRP was $438.
$438. Wow, holy cow.
We are at a couple days
135.
into the auction when we're looking at this, and we're 300 grand shy of the original MSRP. All right.
Truly hard to know where it's going to finish. There are no comps. There's no comps on Manheim. There's no comps on Auto Trader Car Gurus. There is nothing to give guidance about what this car is worth. So we will find out. Anyway, on to the next segment. All right, I want to move on to questions. Filippo. It's time. Questions are sponsored this week. I haven't done any sponsors. Questions are sponsored by Cars and Bids.
In honor of our
Use
5-year
Cars and
anniversary.
Bids, or we'll hurt you. How's that?
Love it.
Ooh, that's
Do you think any company has ever tried that before for marketing?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I think there's a whole industry centered on this.
You're talking about the mafia.
Yep.
Well, I'm not going to make you. Filippo's saying it. I don't know anything about it. He's Italian.
I heard he paints houses, though. Anyways.
Okay. Questions. These are all good, and we're going to get to all of them. That's our goal. Filippo's looking at the questions, formulating responses.
Cheating.
Okay.
Better known as cheating.
From Pylon Pal. From Pylon Pal.
Aw.
By what percentage do you believe the alliteration of your name propelled your growth on YouTube? I presume that's to me.
Yeah. I think so.
It's a great question. I actually think 0, but I do think very sincerely, and I'm being as sincere as I can be to the two of you. I think that my unusual name was very beneficial. I think if your name is Mike Smith, was it last week that I made fun of the Speaker of the House for being named Mike Johnson?
Yeah.
Like, imagine if that was your name and you were trying to be a content creator. Like, it's hard to remember. And then you tell your buddies, like, oh, Mike Johnson makes these videos. And people are like, what is that? And I think that, like, I've just, like, in the car world, if you say Doug, you're referring to me. Like, having a weird name, I think, was beneficial and memorable and helpful. And I legitimately do think that helped.
Your name is the perfect balance of easy to spell, fun to say, Doug DeMuro, alliterative, easy, like rolls off the tongue, fun to say, easy to spell so you can put in Google, and memorable. It's like the perfect balance.
It's unique enough.
It's unique enough, whereas Filippo and Kennan, people have so much trouble. It's almost a little bit too difficult.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's not fun to say.
Yes. But no,
It's not. I had fun saying Filippo.
The spelling is
Filippo.
great. Like,
Full name, though, it's hard.
it is fun to see people try to spell our names, despite the fact they're on the screen every single time we do a video. They're right there, but that's the way it goes. That's fine. But no, I think you're right. But I will say people do, your last name does kind of mess people up a little bit. I've heard
People have
DeMuro a
trouble with-
lot, but
Yeah, people have trouble with my last name for various different ways, which has always been very beneficial to me. You know, as I've said in previous things, when people don't capitalize the M in my last name, I can tell that they're not going to be careful with details. Which has various benefits if you're trying to hire people or if you're just trying to know them. But regardless, I think having a kind of an unusual name, not necessarily because it's alliterative, but because it's unusual, I do legitimately think that benefited me. And looking back, you know, should I have used my real name, making all these content? I actually think it was really beneficial, as opposed to creating like Sporty Garage, or so many of these YouTube channels have names that are just kind of hard to remember because they don't necessarily have a person behind them or whatever.
I think the best, you and Harry Metcalf, Harry's Garage is like,
Harry. And Harry is so well known generally that I think he was never going to have trouble. But like coming up with a name like you know, the Fast Garage or whatever, like it's hard to the Speed Channel. It's just hard to kind of keep those in mind sometimes. Next question from E Miston 4757, not to be confused with E Miston 4756, which Filippo was. Don't go there, Filippo. With the whole thing of Elon and Tesla, do you think people will start buying Teslas if he stepped down, or do you think the whole stigma of it being Elon's brand is stuck with Tesla forever? Filippo, you're a raging liberal. Why don't you tell us?
I think that people's memory is short, and therefore the current era of Elon fades quickly in memory.
You know, that's interesting. What do you think? Let me ask you this, because Elon came out yesterday, was incredibly critical of the bill, the budget tax bill
Big,
that
beautiful
the
bill.
Republicans are pushing through right now.
Beautiful.
Incredibly critical, despite the fact that Trump has still saying positive things about Elon, and President Trump is also still saying, oh, Elon's still here, he's still with us, even though he's gone back away from. Elon is now. What if Elon makes an about face and in 3 years' time is suddenly a liberal?
Don't you feel like him kind of becoming more conservative was kind of an about face? Like before, he was pretty like left leaning.
What if he realizes after spending 6 months in this government that in his mind the conservatives are just as bad as the liberals, and now he wants back? Like, will people re-embrace him? Do the Teslas sell again?
I legitimately think that yes, I think people would re-embrace it. By the way, Ron Johnson said today that Elon Musk has recently, as yesterday, had promised him that he supported the bill. So we're in a good spot. I think that about face would help him maybe reintegrate with the community that has bought Teslas. I legitimately also think that people will forget and it won't matter. Truly. Now, will it matter that Tesla doesn't have a great lineup and has two products that haven't been updated in a decade? Yes.
You think that will matter more?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What if they pull Elon? Like, they're not gonna, especially now that he's like gonna refocus whatever, but what if it had kept getting bad? He kept doing salutes that were of Nazi-ish origins. Like, what if that he kept going down that road? Do you think pulling Elon would have been enough for, generally speaking, liberals and Democrats who are buying electric cars to re-embrace that brand?
It's a good question. Yeah, partially. I mean, a lot of people ignore who the CEO is of any other manufacturer, but so much of Tesla's growth has been driven by Elon.
Yeah.
And so it's tied. And in Europe, especially, where sales are massively down of Teslas, much more so than they are in the US, I don't know what the impact is.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you
It's hard to know. It's an interesting question, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next. If Elon goes back to a mild-mannered, normal CEO, and maybe is critical of some of the Republican policies, like the bill, do people start to re-embrace him a little bit? What is his legacy? The whole thing will be kind of an interesting thing.
He can also just go play with spaceships.
To succeed, he cannot continue probably to be as outspokenly pro-Trump as he has been, in my estimation.
Yeah. Also, though, like legitimately, there is some EVs are not that popular. There was a poll this week that showed that interest in EVs was the lowest it's been in 4 or 5 years. Tesla does not have the most modern lineup of vehicles. There's other competitive players in the space. A lot of things have also changed that have been timed at the same time as Elon's political activities.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, it's not just a question of Elon and his politics. It's also a question of, like, you got to make kind of more competitive vehicles.
Here's an example of this. Kennan sent us a picture earlier this week of a brand new post facelift Model Y that had I bought this before I knew Elon was crazy sticker. And like, you bought that last week.
It's like you bought it literally yesterday afternoon. You knew.
He didn't know yet. He hadn't known.
He had just gotten out from underneath the rock, recently gotten cell reception. His Tesla shop was like, damn it.
Right. Has it actually stopped purchases to that extent? I don't know.
Next question from Aiden Wiesel. What would you guys rank the Holy Trinity? Now, to me, the Holy Trinity is the Carrera GT, the Enzo, and the SLR. However, this question asker's name is Aiden. And so he is asking us, don't you agree?
Yeah.
The 918, the P1, and the LaFerrari. How do we rank those three? Filippo?
LaFerrari 918 P1.
Okay, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, that might be right. I didn't even really listen to what he said. But Kennan, I don't know why I didn't give it to you first.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's LaFerrari P1 918.
Wow.
You ranked the LaFerrari first in that group?
I mean, it's the only one with a V12. The other two have V8s. Now the 918 is naturally aspirated with hybrid assist, and the P1s is a turbocharged.
It's a P1 above the 918.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just more. It is more special. And like the 918 is the most usable by far. It's the best of them all. It's the most drivable. And LaFerrari's, every Ferrari dealer in the country has a LaFerrari in there for a battery change. Every single service center. I think last time I checked, it was $260 was what I heard.
It should be noted that this is also happening to all the McLaren P1s.
Yes, that's true. Although there does seem to be more support from that, and Ferrari is kind of like, you're going to wait. But I think that, genuinely every Ferrari dealer I've walked into, every service department has one. And the 918s, of course, seem pretty robust because it's a Porsche. So surprise.
Now, to me, I don't love any of the three.
I also
to be
agree with that.
Honest. Like none of the three are cars that if I had a 50 car garage, I don't know that I would have any of the three, to be honest, except the P1 GTR, which I consider to be one of the great cars I've driven. And if I had real money, like don't talk to Filippo anymore money, I would get a P1 GTR. I think yeah, the road one. I drove a road one in Newport Beach for God knows what reason. It was probably incredibly illegal.
Right,
but it was amazing.
All right, so I'll get an FXXK. I mean, what do you want to say here? You're choosing the race car version of it. Like,
isn't an FXXK based on the Enzo?
They did an FXX based on the LaFerrari as well.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't really like any of them. Do I have to pick?
Yeah. What's your ranking?
I don't know. Probably the Porsche first because you can actually use it, and then the P1, the LaFerrari's last. But honestly, it could switch completely around in an hour. It's so far below any of the other cars. And by the way, I love seeing these cars on the road. When I see an i18 on the road, I freak out like a small child, like that Francis Bourgeois guy who just saw the M274 steam kettle.
I mean, trains are kind of giant steam kettles when you think about it. Steam engines.
Kennan, you should be on Grand Tour.
Me? No. I mean, I like Thomas and James, but
Kennan, Filippo, why didn't they call Kennan to be on Grand Tour?
It's a good question.
I'm not somebody.
They couldn't spell his name.
They definitely couldn't spell my name.
They tried to send him an email, but it bounced back.
Yeah.
And on that subject, the next question is from real Emily Rolson, but Rolson is misspelled. and the question is, what is one car that didn't work at the time when it came out, but it would be hugely successful today? I only put this question in because I want to say Pontiac Aztec, but Filippo, if you have other ones, you're welcome to put them in.
The Toyota FJ Cruiser.
Yeah, that's a great one. Kennan, you got any? Xterra.
Xterra, huh? Yeah.
FJ is the best one of all.
By the way, people are going to say that the FJ worked. It didn't. Nobody wanted it at the time. It's become desirable now, but nobody cared when it was for sale.
It was somewhat desirable at the time, and it lasted for like 9 model years.
I'm just kind of thinking of cars that were ahead of their time. I think the Lincoln Blackwood was a little bit ahead of its time in terms of luxury trucks, as in Cadillac did the luxury truck thing, and that was kind of successful.
Yeah, but that failed too. You know what Lincoln discovered with those luxury trucks? I agree with you that it was ahead of its time with luxury trucks, but what all those trucks proved was that people want luxury trucks, but they want to get them from the brand that has the mainstream. Like you want a luxury truck, but you want a Ford. You don't want to be driving around a Lincoln pickup.
Yeah, you want to fit in on the construction site.
You want to fit in on the construction site, exactly.
Right. This is the one you take to town to get.
Those are all good ones, honestly, off the cuff good ones. Next question from TLA. Kennan. This is for Kennan. Kennan, you've brought up different cars you've thought about buying, from a Cayenne to a Viper and beyond.
Boy, hasn't he.
I tell you. Have you thought about buying another, maybe less used E39 M5? My question would actually be, have you thought about buying a more used E39 M5?
That's impossible.
Well, why? What? All right. So I've had a number of people send me E39 M5s recently.
Really?
And it's like, do you want to own another one? Are you bidding on this one? It's like, no, I have one. I don't want two. If I wanted another E39 M5, I'd buy a Z8. But I don't. I don't want one with lower mileage because I use my car all the time. I don't want to feel guilty about putting miles on it. And to be honest with you, a lot of these cars are so old, stuff is aged out, like rubber seals have perished and need to be replaced. Ryan just had he's like a 30,000 mile one in. The cost to bring it back up to spec because stuff is worn out is the same as one that had been driven. So all right, that kind of negates that. I don't want one that's worse than mine because I will make it nice again. That's just what I do. And so no, I'm happy with the one I have.
But I think the thrust, you gloss over that point, but I think the thrust of at least my interpretation of the question, or my version of the question is I
love the car so much, that's the only car I should ever have. Is that what you're saying? What if you
got a bad one and then could just really use it how you want and not care and kind of preserve your pristine one, which was pristine until the mirrors started bubbling, although I don't think we should discuss it.
I've already looked into replacements.
Touchy moment.
You're replacing them?
Just the one. I think at some point I will do just one. Not now. I'm going to wait for it to get a little worse. But
by the way,
I'm going to do it while they're available. Because again, the mirror only came on that car, and at some point they're going to disappear. And
I looked for minutes, dozens of minutes, trying to find the bubbling.
Because you're not a detailed person when it comes to aesthetics.
No, you
look at your Fiat.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's on to something, Kennan.
No. Eventually it'll affect functionality.
No. It is the others who are idiots.
Yes, you are idiots.
Okay. Here's a good question from New Bid Noise. New Bid Noise. You are condemned to drive 1,000 hours as an Uber driver. You can choose any eligible car ever listed on Cars and Bids, but you have to pay for gas and maintenance. What do you choose? So basically the question is, what enthusiast car, I'm going to summarize the question as, what enthusiast car would be good to drive Uber in? And that's an interesting one. The correct answer is that black Prius that's in the office right now, but it hasn't been listed yet.
Hasn't been listed yet. It's 40,000 miles. It will need nothing for the next 210,000 miles. Yeah.
My mind went to a Model 3.
You know what my answer is? I got a great one. I got to find it. I got a great one. Wait, you know what? Toyota Century. Toyota Century.
But you have to pay for gas as a V12.
Yeah, but it's like a smooth V12, dude. It can't use that much gas to be so smooth.
Imagine Uber Black and you get picked up in that.
That'd be legit. I'm going to stick with a Model 3.
S-Class?
There was Model 3. Yeah,
Model 3 is probably the right choice.
What were you going
to choose? But imagine you have to spend 1,000 hours in a Model 3. You know what my answer is? You know what my answer is? Kennan, type in progress, but only spell it with one S. This is actually going to lead to a car. That one. Yeah, click on that. Here's the answer. It's this, and I'll tell you why. It's a reliable car. It's a Toyota. This is the Toyota Progress NC250. I don't know. Filippo probably doesn't know this car, but Kennan and I obviously are enthusiastic.
I've just always pronounced it Progress.
Well, that's
I don't think there's like...
There's an accent on the E.
Do you agree, if you look at photo number 8, you agree it's an LS430 that's just been sized down? Like, it has the same front end, it has the same rear end, it has the same window line, but they were like, you know what? Anyway, I think this is it.
The big body Lexuses, actually, now that you say it, are also good choices.
Yeah, but you got to pay for fuel, dude. Hey, look at picture number 56. Look at 56. Am I nuts, or is that wood on the end of the turn signal and wiper stalks?
You
100%.
appear to be correct.
Are you not familiar with this? This is the thing.
Tell me I'm wrong. This is the car.
You are wrong, but that is cool. Also, doesn't quite match the rest of the wood.
No, I don't even. Where did this car fit in the lineup? Toyota has.
I don't understand Toyota's JDM lineup. Never have.
Anyway, this car is probably the one I would choose. Okay, 2 more questions. We are going to get through all the questions. I'm so excited. 2 more questions. This one is from Acraft3. Which cars are the most Doug, Filippo, and Kennan? What cars do you think match who you are as people the most? I think we should answer for each other. Like, you can't answer for yourself. I think we should answer for each other.
Just like globally a car.
Yeah, me and Kennan. No. Me and Kennan choose for Filippo. Then
yeah.
Okay, so Kennan, what car is the most Filippo? It might be that Toyota Progress, honestly.
Progress.
I don't know. I picture some very base trim European Golf is kind of you. It's very practical. It doesn't like to draw attention to itself.
What about a boring color?
It's very European.
Cayenne manual.
You know what? A base U.S. Golf, because you're European in America, and you like to hold that over others.
What about a Lupo?
A Lupo? Yeah, a Lupo. A Filippo.
Oh, yeah.
It's like practically there.
I think a Lupo, but one of those like special Lupos that was like Lupo Olympics edition. And like the seats are like a portion of them is red. Like,
right. So it has.
He's got a little personality.
Right. Interesting fabric, like his giraffe shirt that he wears occasionally.
Yeah.
That, I think we found it. Did you agree? How do you feel about that?
I'm unhappy, so therefore it must be a good fit.
Okay, perfect. Filippo, let's come up with one.
I have an answer. XJ6.
Jag XJ6.
Okay, it's like slightly old school, slightly uninspired. He would defend it to the death as the best car humanity's ever made.
You're just saying this because we have one.
I don't think you're that wrong. And
I don't think so.
And it's not
You're just
fast.
saying that because we have an XJ6.
No. Sorry, this is too cool. Go back.
No, yeah. He's talking about a regular sedan one.
Yeah, like that.
I don't even get a Vandenpla.
Wow, this is a manual?
It's got to.
What?
Not that one. You're thinking about a U.S. market, like
I am.
regular old.
Yeah, sure. Like that one that was previously owned by NFL coach Tom Landry. Sure.
Yeah, the Landry one. That's exactly that. That's exactly what you're thinking about. And you know what? I think that's right. Old school, slow, probably doesn't do things in the best optimal way. You know,
but does them right.
It's comfortable. There's a lot of wood and leather.
Yeah, that's a great one. What's mine? Hit me.
Kennan, what do you think?
I'm just trying to think of the most chaotic.
Chaotic. What is chaotic about me?
About you, what isn't?
It's funny. You guys all think that, but look around.
I'll tell you what. You've been away. I miss you dearly. The office, very quiet, peaceful place to be.
And
what about a Ford Contour?
I do miss it. Ford Contour?
Ford Contour. That doesn't make any sense. Come on.
No, he's kind. I mean. It has to be quirky, but it has to be
the non-SVT. It's a European market. It's a U.S. market Ford Mondeo.
No, he's not.
Too boring.
Not,
all right, you guys can
boring.
have a second to think it over. I'm going to go to the last question.
Okay.
Because it's related to some of the Kennan situation. Last question from JP Fellner. Some car enthusiasts only go to XYZ gas station because they claim the gas is better.
God.
Do any of you do that or know people who do? I personally think it is the most insane thing that a human being could ever do in the history of humanity. Like, no joke, I think it's like top 3 insane things. Someone will say to me, hey, do you go to the Chevron? I have no clue what the brand of gas station I go to is. People say this to me. Oh, yeah, I go to the Chevron. Literally don't look. However, it will not surprise those of you who are listening and or watching to know that one of us does go to the same brand of gas station. Kennan, would you like to explain why?
Look, yes, I do. I go to Shell exclusively. I have forever. And part of it, and Sean, who our producer, is over there grinning to himself because he does the same thing because they sponsored Ferrari for a long time and it was on the car. And it's always been. You remember the Ferrari V-Power ad from back in the day?
Wait. What do you mean they sponsored Ferrari? They don't anymore?
No, they
but
still
you
do.
Still go there? Are you kidding me?
They still do.
Filippo, he's nuts.
Look,
he's
here's
nuts.
what happens. Kennan goes to the Shell exclusively. You go to whatever's most convenient, and I go to the gas station that's cheapest. That's just how this works.
That is exactly right. I go to whatever's the most convenient. Kennan goes to Shell, and Filippo will drive 45 minutes out of his way to save 14 cents a gallon.
There.
I won't. I do the math for how much I'll save, including cost to get there. He does the math.
He's got a calculator in his car, and it's one of those old kids ones that's like big yellow with blue buttons and stuff.
You think I mental math, man. My wife's a middle school teacher. I know.
You remember this commercial? The Ferrari Shell commercial, the Formula One one they did?
I do remember the commercial, but I'm telling you right now, Kennan, that commercial could come out of the TV and give me a warm embrace, and I still wouldn't go to Shell gas stations.
Well, I have the rewards card and all that stuff too. So like there are other reasons why I go there. Well, I shop at Rob's.
Where
even
the
whole thing ties together. But I've always used Shell in my cars.
Does this brand loyalty extend beyond gas stations, Kennan? Is there other stuff that you're like this about? I bet there is.
I mean,
let's find out. Current Ferrari F1 sponsors.
No, I don't use HP.
Ferrari F1. Like, do you only go to the same, grocery store and the same shoes and the same?
Do you only do Pirelli tires?
I do wear a lot of the same sneakers. That's true.
Pirelli tires? What about Puma sneakers? What about Puma sneakers? Puma as the sponsor of Ferrari F1.
No, I only have one pair of Pumas.
How do you feel about Ray-Ban sunglasses?
I do like Ray-Bans, but I wear prescriptions now, and I switched them on blonde.
How do you feel about Bitdefender?
Don't know what it is.
Or Armani or
all right,
Mall
we're
GmbH.
This right here before we get too far down this line. Have you guys come up with the car yet?
How do you feel about a base 997.1 cab?
I mean, good, but not quirky enough for him. I was thinking Audi A2 was getting closer.
Fun, but I'm also like
Audi A-Vus, wasn't that
convertible?
What?
The Audi A-Vus. You don't know the A-Vus, dude?
That feels like him.
No, that's way too
It's insane.
No. We're not going to give into this. No.
Give into what? I'm not advocating for this car. I think it's insane.
But you're secretly enjoying it, and therefore
I don't think it has one.
I'm enjoying this. I did have a scale model of this car for years when I was a kid.
I really need to think more about this because it has to be a blend of a quirky, chaotic.
What about a first gen Cayenne Turbo S? Looking up what's on the site.
Because it's sitting there? Because it's sitting right there on the screen?
Yeah. Sheer proximity.
Convenience. That's the most Filippo.
Another question.
I need to think more about it. I'll come back to that.
You guys can't answer the question. You got to confer with Sean. We'll talk about it on our next podcast. For now, I must say, this has been the greatest podcast we've ever done. Kennan, do you have any parting thoughts for the audience?
Yes, happy late birthday to Noodle, your dog. It was recently his 6th birthday, and we miss you dearly and can't wait for you to come back, but I hope you're having fun on the East Coast.
To be clear, that was all directed at Noodle.
Noodle. All right.
True. Goodbye,
everyone. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.